My life shattered with the force of 5 words. Your son is in critical care. The sterile chill of the hospital lobby wrapped around me as those words echoed in my mind. Just 30 minutes earlier, I'd stepped out of my matte black Range Rover, fresh from a red-eye flight from Paris, still wearing a silk scarf that smelled faintly of Dior and espresso. My suitcase still held gifts. Italian cufflinks, Parisian suits, little luxuries meant for my son, Ethan. Instead, I found a note taped to my penthouse door, stamped by Chicago Mercy Medical Center. It had been sitting there for days. Mrs. Delaney, we've been trying to reach you,
I'm so sorry,
the receptionist said,
there's nothing
her tone
more we can
polished
do.
but cold. Your son was admitted 6 days ago after a severe car accident. 6 days. 6 days he'd been here, broken, alone, while I was drinking champagne at a rooftop in Monaco, bragging to friends about his promotion. My heart pounded as I took the elevator to the 4th floor. 6 days. No call, no text. And where was Amelia, his wife? I'd left my itinerary with both of them. When the doors opened, a nurse with kind eyes, Carla, her badge red, approached me. Mrs. Delaney, she said softly, your son's condition has been touch and go. He's stable now, but critical. You'll want to prepare yourself before you go in. Her words sliced deeper than any I'd ever heard. And his wife? I asked. Carla hesitated. She came in the night of the accident, signed some initial papers, but she hasn't returned since. That couldn't be right. Amelia, polished, soft-spoken, the woman Ethan swore was his soulmate, had vanished? Carla led me through a corridor of dim lights and antiseptic air until we reached room 418. I froze at the doorway. Ethan, my confident, laughing, luxury-loving son, lay there, a stranger beneath tubes and machines. His face was swollen, bruised, his arm and leg encased in plaster, his chest rising only because a machine forced it to. Ethan, I whispered, reaching for his hand. His skin was cold. Too cold. Mom's here now. You're safe. Carla adjusted his monitors, her movements precise. The impact was severe. Head trauma, internal bleeding. He's lucky to be alive. How did it happen? She hesitated again, eyes lowering. According to the report, Mrs. Delaney, his wife was driving. The car hit the divider at over 100 mph. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt. The words hit like thunder. And Amelia? Minor injuries, Carla said. She was treated and discharged the same night. Discharged. She walked out, left him. The air left my lungs. I steadied myself on the cold steel bedrail. My son lay broken, his body shattered, and the woman who promised to love him had simply vanished. As the rhythmic beep of the monitor filled the silence, something fierce stirred inside me. I had built my empire from nothing, a self-made millionaire, forged in boardrooms and betrayal. But nothing had prepared me for this kind of war. I brushed my fingers over Ethan's hair. I'm here now, I whispered, and I swear to you, I'll find out what really happened. I'll find her, and I'll make her tell me the truth. Outside, the skyline glittered through the window, glass and steel reflecting the city I had conquered. But tonight, every light in Chicago burned like a warning, because I had just declared war on a lie, and whoever hurt my son had no idea who they were up against. By sunrise, the skyline was still cloaked in mist, the kind that makes even a city of steel and glass feel fragile. I hadn't left Ethan's bedside all night. His heart monitor beeped in slow, steady rhythm, the only proof my son was still with me. Every sound in that ICU, every hiss of oxygen, every distant page over the intercom, felt like it was counting down to a truth I wasn't ready to face. I stared at him, pale beneath the glow of fluorescent lights, and my mind kept circling the same question. Where was Amelia? At 7 sharp, I pulled my phone from my handbag, a limited edition gold Vertu that now felt useless. and dialed her number again, straight to voicemail. Her voice came through smooth, rehearsed, distant. "Hi, this is Amelia. Leave a message, and I'll get back to you." I hung up before the tone. She wasn't going to call. Not her. Carla entered quietly with fresh linens and an apologetic smile. "You should rest, Mrs. Delaney. You've been here all night." I shook my head. Rest is for people who have answers. She hesitated, then said gently, "There's something else you might want to know." The police report mentioned, "They found your son's phone and wallet in the passenger seat. The airbags on his side failed to deploy. But the driver's did. That's probably why." "She lived," I finished for her. My voice cracked but hardened just as quickly. Carla nodded silently and left me alone again. I turned to Ethan, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "You trusted her, didn't you? You thought she loved you more than the business, more than the money. And maybe she did once. But my instincts told me this was no accident. By noon, I had already instructed my driver, Simon, to bring the Bentley to the hospital. I changed into a cream cashmere suit, wrapped a silk scarf around my neck, and applied the red lipstick that always reminded me who I was. Isabella Delaney, CEO of Delaney and Cummer Global Holdings. People didn't ignore me. Not twice. I stepped into the car, and the city blurred past in shades of chrome and rain. I gave Simon one destination, the penthouse Ethan shared with Amelia. When the elevator opened onto the top floor, I immediately smelled her. That faint scent of roses and something artificial. Their home was immaculate, but not untouched. The champagne flutes from their last dinner still sat on the marble counter. Her designer heels were gone. His watchbox, empty. And then, something caught my eye. A thick white envelope on the console table, sealed with my name written in her delicate cursive. I tore it open. "Isabella, I know what you think, but this isn't what it looks like. The accident wasn't my fault. Ethan told me something that night. Something about the company, about money that wasn't supposed to exist. Please don't look for me. If you do, they'll come for you too." My fingers tightened on the letter. They'll come for you too. Who were they? And what money? I stared out at the skyline, my reflection fractured across the glass like a ghost haunting her own life. I had built Delaney & Co. from the ground up. Every share, every merger, every empire under its umbrella. Legitimate, controlled, perfect. Unless my son had found something I didn't know. A vibration broke the silence. My phone lit up with an unknown number. I answered. "This is Isabella." A man's voice, low, calm, dangerous, replied. "Mrs. Delaney, I suggest you stop digging. Your son made promises he couldn't keep. If you value what's left of your family, stay quiet." Before I could speak, the line went dead. I stared at the phone, my blood running cold. So this wasn't just about love or betrayal. It was something bigger, darker. Ethan hadn't just been in a car crash. He had been silenced, and I wasn't about to let them finish the job. Because now I wasn't just a mother. I was a storm. By the time I returned to the hospital that night, the rain had turned into a curtain of silver, washing the city clean. But not me. I sat beside Ethan's bed, the faint hum of medical machines echoing through the room. Every beep, every sigh of the ventilator reminded me that my son was alive but silent, trapped between this world and the one trying to claim him. Amelia's letter burned in my mind. If you do, they'll come for you too. I had faced hostile investors, political sharks, and billion-dollar lawsuits. But this felt different, personal. After hours of silence, I reached for my phone and opened my secure business cloud. I had built Delaney & Co. from a single real estate deal into a global investment network spanning luxury resorts, green energy, and private finance. Every cent accounted for, every transaction clean, Or so I thought. I logged into the restricted files Ethan had partial access to, the ones he de-used after joining the company 2 years ago. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I typed in his last password. His birthday, paired with his favorite car model, 80804 Aston. Access granted. The screen filled with spreadsheets, wire transfers, and investment notes. At first, it all looked routine. Acquisitions, property valuations, partnership agreements. Then one folder caught my eye. Vincent Hartman Fund, private. I frowned. I didn't have a partner by that name. The file opened into a maze of encrypted data, offshore accounts, and coded project names. Aurora, Silverline, Gemini. Buried beneath it all was a list of 6 names, each tied to enormous transfers routed through companies I'd never heard of. And next to the last one was Ethan's name. My hands went cold. Someone had used my son's credentials to move millions through shell accounts, in my company's name. And the last transaction was dated the night of his accident. The door creaked open behind me. I turned sharply. It was Charles, my oldest confidant and CFO. He looked startled to see me awake. "Isabella," he said softly, "you haven't slept in 2 days. Let me handle the reports. You should be with Ethan." I closed the laptop gently. "Charles," I said slowly, "who is Vincent Hartman?" For a fraction of a second I saw it, the flicker of panic in his eyes before he composed himself. "Old investor. European. You wouldn't know him." "I know every investor," I said coldly. "Try again." He hesitated, then sighed. "Vincent Hartman is more of a shadow partner, someone your late husband worked with long before you went global. Private equity, silent deals, nothing illegal, but..." "But?" I pressed. He looked away. But Ethan started asking questions, about missing numbers, about money that didn't trace. And then his gaze shifted toward the hallway, where my son lay unconscious. You know what happened next. The room felt smaller suddenly, the air heavier. "You're telling me this man, this Hartman, could be behind the accident?" Charles didn't answer directly. "Just be careful. There are people you don't want to provoke." I rose slowly, smoothing the sleeve of my cashmere coat. "Charles, I've stared down billionaires, senators, and corporate assassins. If someone hurt my son, I'm not going to provoke them." I met his gaze, steel to steel. "I'm going to destroy them." That night, I didn't go home. Instead, I drove my Bentley through the sleeping city, headlights slicing through fog. I needed to clear my head. Or maybe I just needed to feel in control of something, even the steering wheel. But as I turned into the private drive leading to my lakefront estate, the security gate was already open, and parked in front of my door was a silver Maybach, one I didn't recognize. My pulse quickened. Through the rain-spattered windshield, I saw a tall figure in a tailored coat step out and look directly at me. His voice carried through the storm when he spoke. "Mrs. Delaney," he said calmly, "I believe you've been looking for me." He smiled faintly, as if we were meeting for dinner, not at the edge of danger. "I'm Vincent Hartman, the man who had haunted the files, the one whose name was written beside my son's. And now, he was standing on my doorstep. The rain hadn't stopped when he walked through my door. It streaked down the glass walls of my estate like silver tears, distorting his reflection as he stepped into the foyer. Tall, confident. Wrapped in a charcoal trench coat that probably cost more than most people's cars. "Vincent Hartman," he said again, voice calm, deliberate, as if he owned every moment between his words. "I'm sorry for the hour, Mrs. Delaney. But we need to talk. Now." I studied him carefully. Late 40s, sharp features, ice blue eyes that smiled slower than his mouth did. His cufflinks gleamed under the chandelier. Platinum. engraved with a V and H intertwined. The kind of man who could make danger look elegant. I motioned toward the sitting room, my tone cool. "If you're going to break into my home, at least have a drink. Bourbon?" He gave a faint smirk, still as unshakable as they say. "People say many things about me," I replied, pouring 2 glasses from the decanter on the marble bar. "Most of them underestimate me." He took the glass but didn't drink. "You found the files," he said simply. "I did," I said, "and I saw my son's name on them, attached to transactions that lead straight to you." He nodded, as if he expected that. Ethan was smart. Too smart, maybe. He started following the money. He didn't realize the people behind those accounts aren't the kind who tolerate curiosity. I narrowed my eyes. "You mean you?" "No," Vincent said, his tone flattening. "Not me. The ones who funded everything before Delaney & Co. went global. Your late husband's silent investors. They used me to move capital, offshore, discreetly, long before you expanded the company. I thought it was clean. But your son found something I missed." I leaned back in the armchair, the leather whispering beneath me. "Why come to me now?" He set the untouched bourbon down. "Because they think Ethan's gone. And once they find out he's not, they'll come for you next. You deserve to know why." I stood slowly, heels clicking against marble. "What I deserve," I said, "is the truth. Start talking, Mr. Hartman. All of it." He hesitated, then walked to the window. The rain turned his reflection ghost-like. "5 years ago, before Ethan joined you, an anonymous investor group approached your husband. They promised expansion funding, hundreds of millions. But the deal came with strings. When your husband died, those strings tied themselves around you. Ethan found the clause, the part where they own nearly 40% of your company, Shell Holdings." I froze. "That's impossible. I would have known." "You didn't," he interrupted softly. "Because it was buried under a false subsidiary. Ethan found the trail, and that's what got him targeted." My pulse thundered in my ears. I looked toward the fire crackling low in the hearth, my reflection trembling in its light. "You expect me to believe you're some kind of savior?" "I expect you to believe I have nothing to gain by lying," he said. "The same people who wanted your son silenced are after me. They think I have evidence, the ledgers your husband kept hidden." I crossed my arms. "And you do?" He met my gaze evenly. "No, but I know where they are." The silence between us deepened, heavy as the rain outside. Finally I said, "If you're telling the truth, you'll take me there." A faint smile touched his lips. "I thought you'd say that." He slipped a small silver drive from his coat pocket and placed it on the table. "Coordinates. It's not far from here. Your husband's old retreat on Lake Ariston. That's where the ledgers are stored. But once you go there, there's no going back. They'll know." Lightning flashed through the window, throwing his face into sharp relief, part angel, part liar. I picked up the drive, my fingers brushing his, cold, controlled. "Then we go tonight," I said. His smile deepened, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You really don't scare easily, do you, Mrs. Delaney?" "I scare," I said softly. "I just don't stop." Outside, the storm raged on, a chorus of wind and thunder echoing against the estate walls. Somewhere in the distance, headlights flickered briefly on the wet road, then vanished again. I had no idea if I was walking beside my enemy or my only ally. But either way, the next move was mine. The drive to Lake Ariston took 3 hours through rain-slicked highways and endless pine forest. The city lights faded behind us, replaced by mist, silence, and the hum of Vincent's Maybach gliding like a shadow through the dark. I sat in the back seat, watching the reflection of the storm dance across the glass. Vincent drove like a man who'd done this 1,000 times. No GPS, no hesitation. Every few minutes, lightning cut through the trees, revealing narrow, twisting roads that led deeper into nowhere. The coordinates on the silver drive had taken us here, to a property my late husband once called his sanctuary. But I'd never been told it existed. The deeper we went, the heavier the rain fell. I tightened my trench coat and finally broke the silence. "Tell me something," I said. "If these ledgers are as valuable as you say, why haven't you already taken them?" He didn't look at me in the mirror. "Because I'm not the only one who knows they exist. The last time I came here, I was followed." "By who?" He hesitated. "The same people who put your son in that hospital." I felt my stomach twist. "Then this is a trap." "It's a risk," he corrected quietly. "But without proof, you can't protect Ethan or your company. The ledgers hold every illegal deal, every offshore transaction tied to Delaney and Code's earliest years, back when your husband still called it Vanguard Finance." That name hit me like a ghost. He told me that company folded decades ago. Vincent's lips curved slightly. "It didn't fold, Isabella. It evolved. And the people who funded it never stopped collecting." The rain eased as we reached the end of a gravel path. Ahead, hidden between tall pines, stood a modern glass and stone villa, minimalist, sharp-edged, and eerily silent. The reflection of the lake shimmered across its dark windows like a mirror of secrets. Vincent parked under the overhang, killed the engine, and turned toward me. "Once we're inside, don't touch anything unless I tell you to." "I don't take orders in my own husband's house," I replied. His eyes flickered, amused but cautious. "Then try not to get yourself killed." The front door opened with a key he already had, another detail that made me wonder just how deep his history with my husband went. The air inside smelled of cedar and dust, untouched for years. Every surface screamed wealth: abstract art on the walls, Italian marble floors, leather furniture that gleamed in the dim light. Yet something about it felt wrong, too clean, too staged, as if waiting for this moment. Vincent walked straight to the fireplace and pressed a panel hidden in the marble. A faint click echoed, followed by the hum of machinery. The wall behind the shelves slid open to reveal a narrow staircase descending underground. My pulse quickened. "So, it's true." He nodded once. "The ledgers are below." We descended into a temperature-controlled chamber lined with steel filing drawers and digital safes. The LED lights glowed softly, reflecting off chrome and glass. Vincent crossed to a safe at the far end and entered a series of codes. The door swung open. Inside, a row of leather-bound books rested beside an envelope sealed with wax. He handed it to me. "Your husband's handwriting." The envelope trembled in my hand. I broke the seal and unfolded the letter. "Isabella, if you're reading this, it means the past has found you. I built our empire on borrowed money and borrowed trust. When I tried to make it right, they warned me there'd be a price. If they couldn't silence me, they'd silence our son. Protect Ethan. Burn everything else." My chest tightened. "He knew," I whispered. "He knew they'd come for him." Vincent's gaze darkened. "And now they've come for you." Before I could respond, a sharp noise echoed above us, the unmistakable sound of tires crunching on gravel. Headlights flashed through the narrow basement window. Vincent's expression hardened. "They found us." I froze. "Who?" He drew a pistol from his coat. "Not who, Isabella. Them." Through the glass, I saw black SUVs pulling up beside the villa. Men in dark suits stepped out, armed, precise, and moving with purpose. Vincent turned to me, voice low but steady. "Take the ledgers and go out the back. There's a boat dock behind the house. Head for the lake. There's a safe house across the water." "What about you?" He smirked faintly. "I'll buy you time." I hesitated. the ledgers heavy in my arms. The rain had started again, hard, angry, merciless. "Vincent," I said softly, "if you don't make it out." He looked at me, eyes sharp, unflinching. "Then finish what your husband started." A crash shattered the silence, glass exploding as men stormed the villa above. I clutched the ledgers to my chest and ran. The storm swallowed everything. Sound, sight, thought. I ran through the darkness, clutching the leather-bound ledgers against my chest, the rain hitting my face like needles. The gunfire behind me echoed across the lake, each shot a reminder that the world I'd built was cracking apart. Vincent's last words replayed in my mind. "Finish what your husband started." The wooden dock appeared through the fog like a mirage. A small motorboat waited, tied loosely to the post, its surface slick with rain. I threw the ledgers inside, untied the rope, and started the engine. The boat roared to life, cutting through the water as lightning split the sky. Behind me, the villa erupted in flashes of gunfire. Through the rain, I saw Vincent at the glass doors firing back. Then, silence. The reflection of the flames flickered against the lake as the house burned like a dying star. I didn't let myself cry. Not yet. The wind pushed against the boat, the storm relentless, but I kept my eyes on the far shore. The coordinates on the letter pointed to a cabin hidden deep in the forest. I had no idea what waited there, only that this was where my husband wanted the truth to end. After what felt like hours, I reached the other side and stumbled up the bank. The cabin stood small but solid, built of black oak with a faint golden light flickering inside. I hesitated, soaked and shaking, then pushed open the door. The warmth hit me first, then the scent. Cedar, whiskey, and old paper. A fire crackled in the stone hearth, and on the mantel stood a single photograph of Christopher and me from our first year together, long before the money, the boardrooms, and the lies. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Then I saw the safe in the corner. It was open, and inside was a laptop with a single file on the screen. The Delaney confession. My hands trembled as I clicked play. My husband's face appeared, older, thinner, eyes heavy with regret. His voice was steady, but every word carried a lifetime of weight. "Isabella, if you've made it here, you already know everything. I wanted to build something that would outlive us, but I built it with the wrong people. When I tried to cut ties, they threatened Ethan. I told him to stay quiet, but he didn't listen. He tried to protect me, and that night on the highway, they made sure neither of us walked away clean." Tears blurred my vision. "The ledgers you hold aren't just evidence. They're redemption. They show how much we owe and how we can finally pay it back. Use them, Isabella. Not to fight, but to free us. End it the right way." The video ended. The screen went black. I stood there for a long moment, listening to the rain easing against the roof. Then I opened one of the ledgers. Inside, alongside numbers and transactions, was a list of names, families, employees, and communities destroyed by the deals that made us rich. Each name carried a red mark beside it, and at the bottom, written in Christopher's hand, one final note. "These are the lives to rebuild." I closed the book slowly. For the first time in years, the weight of money felt heavier than gold. By dawn, the storm had passed. I sat at the cabin desk, wrapped in a wool blanket, drafting the press release that would dismantle Delaney & Co.'s and create the Ariston Foundation in its place. Every account from the ledgers would be sold off. Every dollar redirected to the families who had suffered under our empire. When I hit send, it felt like breathing after years underwater. The first rays of sunlight broke over the lake, turning the smoke above the burned villa into gold. Somewhere out there, maybe Vincent was gone. Or maybe he'd bought me just enough time to finish this. I stepped outside, barefoot on the wet earth, and looked toward the horizon. The reflection of the morning light shimmered across the water, warm and endless. "Ethan," I whispered, "your father's story ends here, but ours begins again." The wind carried my words across the lake soft and sure, and for the first time since the call that started it all, I felt peace, not as a woman who had lost everything, but as one who had finally set it right.